Pessoal, esse é o Russell Ferrante, ou Ferrante, na verdade, como se pronuncia em inglês. Ele é o tecladista e membro fundador do Yellowjackets, uma banda que já recebeu 2 Grammys, tem outras nomeações ao Grammy. Ele já trabalhou com a Luciana Mello, com o Bobby McFerrin, com o Robben Ford. Ele já escreveu arranjos para o Take Six. Se eu falar o currículo inteiro dele aqui, nós vamos ficar 1 hora inteira e não vamos ter entrevistas. E não preciso dizer que é um dos meus músicos preferidos no mundo inteiro. Provavelmente é o meu pianista preferido, é o Russell Ferrante. Então, para mim é um grande prazer mesmo ter essa conversa. Russell, I have a lot of questions for you. And in the end, we had some students doing a very complex final project that I have asked them to do. And I will allow the students who have done the project based in the Yellowjackets music to ask you 3 questions. Are you okay about that?
Sure.
Cool. So let's go. We see a lot of words that define the sound of the instrumental bands that started to appear in the 70s and later. And some of them are jazz fusion, modern jazz, contemporary jazz, smooth jazz. In your opinion, and you are the best person in the world to talk about that, what is the term that better defines what is the style of the Yellowjackets?
Gosh, I don't know. I can't. I mean, it's probably all of those things. If you define fusion as a combination of different styles, then that's probably accurate, because we love traditional jazz, we love Brazilian music, we love classical music, R&B, you know, many different influences in the music. So I guess it is a fusion of styles.
Eu não sei, na verdade, talvez todos os termos que você falou. Se você definir jazz fusion como uma mescla de estilos, talvez essa seja a palavra, porque nós gostamos de jazz tradicional, nós gostamos de música brasileira, nós gostamos de tudo, e está tudo na nossa música. Creio que seja uma mescla de estilos.
Can I say one more thing?
Of course, yes.
Yes. So I think everything is a fusion, right? Because jazz is really a fusion of African music and European classical music, and bossa nova is a fusion of, you know, jazz and Brazilian sensibilities and African music. So really everything is, I mean, draws from everything else.
Eu acho que, na verdade, tudo é uma fusão, porque o jazz, por si só, ele é uma fusão da música africana com outras músicas. A bossa nova é uma fusão do jazz com a música brasileira. Tudo é uma fusão, tudo é baseado em alguma outra coisa.
Yeah.
How was for you having a singer as a part of the group during the album Raising Our Voice? What were the major challenges for an instrumental group to have a singer and to adapt to having a singer? And in the other hand, which are the best benefits of having Luciana playing your music?
Yeah. Well, yes, it depends on what singer you work with, how easy or difficult it is. And Luciana is an incredible musician, and it was very easy to work with her. And we've all worked with a lot of other singers, maybe not with the Yellowjackets, but you mentioned Bobby McFerrin and Take Six. Worked with Al Jarreau, Michael Franks. I've worked a lot with Dori Kaimi, Kevin Littau. So Yeah, I love working with singers, and Luciana is a spectacular musician.
Eu acho que tudo depende de quão difícil ou fácil é de se trabalhar com aquele cantor em especial. Com a Luciana foi muito fácil, ela é uma ótima musicista. Você mencionou o Bobby McFerrin, mas trabalhamos também com outros cantores. Os únicos nomes que eu lembro agora citados foram o Al Jarreau e o Dori Caymmi, mas, mais uma vez, a Luciana é uma musicista espetacular. In your opinion, how the fact of being in the west coast of the United States, in California, makes the sound of the Yellowjackets be particular and different comparing to the other jazz musicians anywhere in the United States, like the New Yorker jazz musicians?
Yeah. I'm sure it has some influence, but now so many musicians from the East Coast live in Los Angeles, like Herbie Hancock, and for many years, Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, so I think there's less of a difference now. But if I was to say one main difference is in Los Angeles, there's a lot of where there used to be more commercial work for musicians. So, you might have a creative band that you worked with, but also during the day you might play on a commercial recording. And do you know the musician Ernie Watts? He's a saxophonist.
No, I don't. Okay. Probably Simon, who is here, knows him.
Yeah, he's a very creative musician, but he differentiates the craft of music and the artistry, and sometimes they're a little different, the craft being your ability to step into any situation and do what's required, if you're playing on a commercial recording, knowing the boundaries and how to make that work. And then if you're an artist, knowing how to break those rules and be expressive. So there's you have to in Los Angeles, people maybe have more opportunities to be craftsmen as well as artists.
Ele disse que na cidade de Los Angeles, essa diferença já foi maior, mas que ela vem diminuindo, porque alguns grandes músicos de jazz, eles passaram a viver lá, ou viveram por um grande tempo lá, como o Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea e o Wayne Shorter. Ele disse também que existe uma coisa que ele acredita que seja um elemento que ainda seja típico da cidade de Los Angeles, é o fato de que muitos músicos eles têm projetos artísticos e eles têm projetos comerciais, eles têm projetos em que eles estão gravando ou tocando música comercial, que em trabalhos. Ele disse que o colega dele, se eu não me engano o nome Herbie Watts, disse que a diferença... Ernie Watts, thank you, Simon. Ernie Watts disse que existe uma diferença entre você fazer o que é preciso, você fazer os trabalhos comerciais, e você ser um artista. E que no momento em que você está sendo um artista, você pode quebrar as regras. Então, que você tem que saber bem assumir os papéis certos quando você está fazendo seus trabalhos com música comercial e quando você vai fazer o seu projeto artístico.
What's the difference between the music out of Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro?
Oh, I'm being interviewed by Russell Ferrante. Okay. I will answer. Yes, let's talk about that. Let's have fun. So, I will struggle to translate, but I will try. We have two kinds of samba in the southeast of Brazil. Samba has originally appeared in Bahia, in the northeast of Brazil, and then later it came to Rio de Janeiro. O samba inicialmente apareceu na Bahia e depois veio para o Rio de Janeiro. Later than Rio de Janeiro, samba came to São Paulo. But in São Paulo, the São Paulo style of samba has become different. It has become a different thing that is completely different than the samba from Rio de Janeiro. So this is one of the points. O samba de São Paulo se tornou diferente. Maybe you want to check this guy. Adoniran Barbosa. He's the most important samba composer in São Paulo. Simon, take notes too.
Yeah. How do you spell his last name?
Adoniran Barbosa.
Can you spell B?
Yeah, I typed it here, but I will spell for you.
Okay.
Barbosa.
Barbosa. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. But the most interesting thing is that we have some sort of styles here in the state of São Paulo that are very typical of the rural side, the countryside of the state of São Paulo, and some states going up north. Nós temos um tipo de música que é muito típico daqui do estado de São Paulo e de alguns estados ao norte. So maybe you want to check these guys. Oh, sorry, it's wrong. It's wrong. Tonico e Tinoco.
Tonicoatin. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next time we do this course, maybe you want to join us and like do an assignment about the music of Adoniran Barbosa and Tonico Tinoco with us.
I would love. Yeah, and I asked that because everywhere there are regional differences, right? And the people that come from one place are influenced by something different than people from somewhere else.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I am very honored that you are asking about the particular music of the state of São Paulo, because I know that many musicians from outside of Brazil, they know only the bossa nova and the music from Rio, and there's a lot of music in Brazil. It's a very big country. Eu disse que eu estou honrado que ele tenha perguntado sobre a nossa música do estado de São Paulo, porque os músicos estrangeiros geralmente só conhecem a música do Rio.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to another question. Music of the Yellowjackets in the first album, the 1981 album. That, by the way, I love that album. I have listened to that like hundreds of times. It's fairly different than the music that you listen in the album Raising Our Voice with the Brazilian singer Luciana Souza. The way you work with the compositions, the harmonies, the melodies, and even your way of playing are different. What exactly happened and what have changed in your sound as a piano player and in the sound of the Yellowjackets?
Yeah, well, as you all know, music is a lifelong journey, and hopefully we continue to learn more and to, grow up. The first record, we were children, and there's something beautiful about children and, the energy of a young person. And it changes as you get older and learn. So I don't know that one is better, but the music has evolved. And I'm glad that Raising Our Voice doesn't sound like the first Yellowjackets record, because that would mean we probably haven't really been reaching for anything, and we always are reaching to find something new and something to excite us and hopefully excite listeners.
A música é uma jornada na vida e esperamos que possamos continuar a percorrer essa jornada. Na primeira gravação, nós éramos crianças dentro dessa jornada e a música evolui. Nós estamos sempre procurando por alguma coisa. Eu estou feliz em saber que no último álbum nós não estamos soando como no primeiro, porque isso significa que o tempo inteiro nós estivemos buscando por algo. Se soasse igual, seria como se nós não estivéssemos buscando por nada. Então, a música evolui. Okay, let me move to another one. Yes, I have to do this question, to ask this question. The album Mirage à Toi, this is the right way of saying that?
Mirage à toi, yes. Mirage à toi, yeah.
Okay. It gave the Yellowjackets a Grammy, and it shows a band that explores a lot of the sound possibilities gave by the synthesizers. The most recent Yellowjackets recordings show a band that prefers to work with acoustic sounds and give a more discrete or smooth role to the keyboards. And a band that likes to explore new chords. This change is an adaptation to the aesthetics of each decade or each jazz era or age, or this is something that artistically you guys wanted to do?
Wow. So if I understand the question, they're asking why we utilize more synthesizers and technology on Mirage à Toi. Is that the question? And
yes, compared to the way you guys have been arranging the music right now, because right now you work more with acoustic instruments.
Yeah.
I mean, you still work with keyboards and synths, but probably way less than you have done in Mirage à Toi.
Right. Well, I think it had something to do with, at the time we made Mirage à Toi, there were many exciting developments happening with keyboards. And I was fortunate to get to be a Yamaha artist, and they gave me some instruments to try out. So on Mirage à Toi, we were really exploring those new instruments that had just come out. It was before a digital, like the DX7, but there was something called the GS1, which was the very first, actually it was the very first digital synthesizer. And so it was very exciting to try these instruments. And the fact that Robben Ford had left the band meant that so half the record was done without guitar. So we needed the technology kind of helped fill out the sound. And since that point, I guess, well, this is a longer answer, but as personnel changed in the band, like William Kennedy joining, Bob Mintzer joining, we started exploring more traditional jazz roots and acoustic music, and we took a different path from that point on.
Ok. Ele disse que na época que esse álbum foi lançado, havia novas tecnologias que eles gostariam de explorar e que ele era um artista, um endorser da Yamaha, e que naquela época o teclado Yamaha DX7 não tinha sido lançado ainda, mas havia o GS1, que foi o primeiro sintetizador digital. Então eram tecnologias que eles estavam animados em explorar. Simon, I'm muting your mic just because I'm getting some noise, but later I will open it, okay? Ele disse também que com a saída do Robben Ford, eles precisaram de ajuda da tecnologia para conseguir gravar o álbum sem um dos integrantes que tinha saído, então que acabou ficando com uma identidade muito específica. Ele disse ainda que quando o William Kennedy e o Bob Mintzer entraram na banda, eles resolveram começar a explorar uma sonoridade de jazz mais tradicional e mais acústica. Okay, I have another question about the idea of identity in music. When you teach music, how do you do for allowing the students to reach for the construction of a self-authentic identity as a musician, to have a self-voice, to have their own voice, their own sound?
Yeah, very good question. Well, as a music educator, I feel my primary responsibility with the students is to make sure they have a strong foundation and work on things that could be applied to any style of music. So many of the things I share with my students have to do with general principles like voice leading or rhythmic awareness, control, like can you control the sound on your instrument? Do you have finger independence? Do you have hand independence? Then also trying, to encourage the students to listen to great music of all genres, not be narrow in their musical taste, and I don't think that I have all the answers, so I don't judge my students if they're approaching something different in a way I would never think of. I'm excited by that. I don't try to make them do things the way I want them done. I want to introduce them to concepts that could be applied broadly, not narrowly. And then it's up to the student, to really find the music that's within them. And that takes time. But I think they're aided in that quest if they have a strong musical foundation.
Ele disse que, para ele, o que importa mais é que os músicos tenham uma base forte, que eles possam aplicar em qualquer estilo. Então, coisas que importam para ele são voice leading, ou seja, a sua capacidade de pensar na condução dos acordes através de condução de vozes, precisão rítmica, controle do som, incluindo independência dos dedos e independência das mãos. E ele acha importante que os músicos escutem todo tipo de música. Ele disse que ele não tem todas as respostas, mas que em casos em que os estudantes eles têm um approach diferente, eles têm uma forma diferente de pensar, ele acha isso excitante, ele acha isso legal. E que os conceitos dele, eles não são voltados para serem aplicados em um tipo específico de música apenas, mas de uma forma mais ampla. Okay, I have another question here for you. Let me see if the Portuguese version will fit here. We'll have to split it. First part is here. And second part is here. In this last week, we had a brief conversation about harmony and voicings. And one student has complained about the fact that certain chords or voicings that are played by the Yellowjackets, they can't be played in the guitar. I told him that when he's thinking about music, that he doesn't need to be limited to his instrument. I say that despite that, the piano can play those voices and has a lot of possibilities of things you can do. The best instrument that allow you to do the more stuff is actually a band, an ensemble, a small ensemble or a big ensemble. I would like to know what message can you share with the musicians who play instruments that have limited possibilities for notes combinations. What message can you give them, can you share with them about how to think in voicings and build chords?
Wow. Well, as a composer, you're not limited by any instrument, so you can write for an ensemble that can play whatever you hear. But in terms of expanding your harmonic vocabulary, I can just tell you the people that I've been inspired by. So listening to actually a lot of Brazilian music, Antonius Carlos Jobim, the beautiful harmony, and the arrangements by Klaus Ogerman, those kinds of sounds. And then the impressionistic composers, Ravel, Debussy, and then American classical composers like Samuel Barber and Aaron Copland, John Adams. So listening to music that has expansive harmony. And as a pianist, we can also, there's all this piano music. Like I'm working on some Ravel music right now and just trying to analyze the harmony. And then another thing I think that's really good to do is just to explore, even if you're not a pianist, to just explore sounds at the instrument, like taking a voicing and then starting moving the notes chromatically around and seeing if there's sounds that you discovered almost by accident, and try to utilize those in the music that you write. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Essa foi uma resposta um pouquinho mais longa, mas eu vou tentar lembrar de todos os elementos aqui. Ele disse que o compositor, ele não está limitado para escrever. Ele não fica limitado ao instrumento, ele pode escrever para a banda. A respeito da expansão do vocabulário harmônico, ele sugeriu escutar a música de Tom Jobim e do Klaus Ogerman, que a gente pouco conhece, mas o Klaus Ogerman é o cara que realmente fez as orquestrações do Tom Jobim. Klaus Ogerman was the symphonic orchestration, or symphonic arranger for Jobim, right? For the Brazilian albums. E ele comentou aqui sobre compositores impressionistas como Ravel, Debussy, e compositores americanos como Samuel Barber, Aaron Copland e John Adams. Depois vocês talvez queiram assistir a gravação da entrevista e ver os nomes. Ele disse que também pode ser bom para vocês escutar música sofisticada. Ele disse que mais recentemente ele está analisando a música de Ravel, e que uma coisa que você pode fazer é simplesmente pegar o seu instrumento e explorar sons. Você pode pegar voicings e brincar cromaticamente com esses voicings para tentar construir novos sons ou novos acordes. What is more important in the music of the 20th century? Is the respecting the traditions or the innovation?
Both. Because I don't think you can really innovate without understanding what has come before.
Ambos, porque eu acho que você não pode inovar sem saber o que veio antes. Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
I would like you to say a brief phrase about some musicians. I will say the name of the musician, and I would like to ask you, what are your thoughts about this musician, but with a single phrase? Are you able to do that?
I will try.
Okay. Lyle Mays.
Well, he incredibly intelligent and like a scientist.
Incrível, inteligente e como um cientista. I believe the word scientist is the best for
Yeah.
Lyle.
Yeah.
He's like the scientist of the Pat Smetana group, and Pat is the heart, and Lyle comes with the science.
Yes. Do you know that he builds, well, while he was alive, he was writing very sophisticated computer programs, and he was doing architecture, he was designing houses and buildings, and he's like a Renaissance man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ele disse que o Lyle Mays, ele é incrível, brilhante, é como um cientista. Ele disse que ele desenvolvia softwares de computador e que ele fazia casas, ele construía casas, ele projetava casas. Ele é como se fosse um homem da Renascença. Like Da Vinci.
Yeah, yes. And he was also he was most interested in billiards at the end of his life. Pool.
I know.
Yeah.
E ele era muito interessado em bilhar no final da vida dele. I know a lot of Brazilians who swear that billiard was created in Brazil. Eu conheço muitos brasileiros que dizem que a sinuca foi inventada no Brasil.
Cool.
Are you familiar with the concept of the quadrivium? Você está familiarizado com o conceito do quadrivium? Você já ouviu falar nisso?
No. What is that?
When you say that Lyle is like a Renaissance man, I have done a research that during the Renaissance era, music, astronomy, and math used to be taught all together. It was one single thing until I think the 15th century. So this explains why many of the Renaissance scientists, or like Da Vinci, they were interested about both arts and astronomy and architecture, and they would put everything together. Eu estava dizendo a ele que existe um conceito chamado quadrivium, em que, na época do Renascimento, a matemática, a música, a astronomia eram ensinados juntos. Actually, music, math, astronomy, and astrology, I think.
Wow.
They would be all together.
Yeah, and of course, Pythagoras, going back to the Greeks, he also came up with many of the understanding the physics of music and was very connected with mathematics. Yeah.
E Pitágoras, na época dos gregos, ele também fez muitas pesquisas sobre música e era muito conectado à questão da música. Yes, this is what my research was about. It was actually about the astronomer Johannes Kepler doing a kind of research about how the movement of the planets could be or couldn't be similar to the math relations between the harmonic intervals.
Wow.
Então, eu disse a ele que a minha pesquisa ela foi sobre o astrônomo Johannes Kepler fazendo analogias entre os movimentos dos planetas e os intervalos harmônicos. And this is kind of an evolution of the concepts by Pythagoras. So it's very cool to see how everything was together. Yeah. I love the way you describe it, Lyle. I have never thought like this, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What about Randy Newman?
Yeah, like, well, his music sounds like it comes from the streets, maybe like New Orleans, but he also, you know, is a great film scorer. So I don't know how to put those together, but someone with a big heart, but he understands how to marry music with picture, you know. Yeah.
A música dele parece com uma música de Nova Orleans, mas ao mesmo tempo ele faz música para cinema, então eu não sei dizer. É como se fosse um cara com um grande coração que é capaz de associar a música com a imagem.
Yeah.
What about Lenny Tristano?
Oh, yeah. Again, kind of like very theoretical, technical, kind of ahead of his time. And he was experimenting with overdubbing and slowing up and speeding up recordings before anyone was doing that in jazz. So he's almost like, do you know the pianist Glenn Gould?
Yes.
Yeah, very interested in the technology of music as well as music itself. So yeah, I'm fascinated by Lenny Tristano's playing, and it's also very intellectual. Like sometimes it's not as maybe romantic or heartfelt. It's very much in his intellect, I find, to me. Yeah.
A música dele, ela é bastante intelectual, ela não é tão romântica, ela é imaginativa e intelectual. Ele é um músico muito experimentador, inovador, e trabalhava muito com cromatismos, e ele gostava de trabalhar com a tecnologia musical. Eu não sei se vocês conhecem o Glenn Gould, mas é um músico que eu poderia comparar. Ele sempre esteve muito interessado nas possibilidades da tecnologia musical e foi um dos primeiros a trabalhar com overdubs de gravações com velocidades diferentes. What about, I don't know if you know this guy, Quincy Jones?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, yes, his celebrity has overtaken maybe his strictly musical accomplishments, but someone who really knows how to bring people together, like a great film director or something.
O seu caráter como celebridade, ele acabou ultrapassando a fama que ele recebe pela qualidade da música dele. Ele é um cara que ele é muito bom em recrutar e colocar bons músicos juntos. Bill Evans.
Bill Evans, yeah. He's the father of modern jazz piano. Yeah.
O pai do jazz moderno no piano. McCoy Tyner.
He's one of the first influences and one of my favorite pianists, and that the whole band that he was a part, the John Coltrane Quartet, is my favorite jazz group of all time, and for the heart and the commitment to music. Yeah.
Uma das minhas primeiras influências, ele foi um pianista da banda do Joe Coltrane, que é o que eu mais gosto de ouvir, tanto pela questão do coração, do quanto aquilo é emotivo, quanto pela qualidade musical. Posso ter perdido alguma coisa na tradução dessa última resposta. Stan Getz.
Stan Getz. Yeah. One of my first recordings was called Sweet Rain by Stan Getz. And I later, I mean, I learned some things about him personally that have colored my opinion of him, because I think he was a difficult man. And also, he played completely by ear. Like he didn't, I don't think he read chord symbols, or if you said it's D minor 7, I don't know that would mean anything to him. He played completely by ear. And Gary Burton used to play with him, and he said until Gary Burton would play the accompaniment on vibraphone, that Stan Getz did not know what to play, which was really interesting. I wonder if that's true, but that's what I heard. So an ear player completely,
Ele disse que uma das primeiras gravações que ele escutou foi Sweet Rain, do Stan Getz, que é um músico que tocava de ouvido, que ele provavelmente não tinha a menor noção do que ele está fazendo, que era tudo completamente intuitivo, que se você falasse um Ré menor para ele, talvez um Ré menor com sexta, ele não saberia o que exatamente é aquilo, mas ele conseguiria tocar. Can you please explain the Gary Burton story again?
Well, Gary Burton, I was watching a workshop with Gary Burton, and he said that when he played with Stan Getz, he realized that Stan Getz did not know any music theory, and he played completely by ear. So Gary Burton had to play, if like he brought in a new song, he would have to play the chord. He couldn't say, D minor 7, or Stan Getz didn't read chord symbols. He had to hear it.
Ele disse que ele estava assistindo um workshop com o Gary Burton uma vez, e ele disse que quando ele trabalhou com o Stan Getz não sabia nada sobre teoria musical, que quando ele ia passar uma música nova para o Stan Getz, ao invés de escrever o nome do acorde, ele tinha que tocar o acorde. E o Gary Burton é um vibrafonista, então ele tinha que tocar o acorde no vibrafone para mostrar o som do acorde para o Stan Getz, e aí em cima disso o Stan Getz ia pegar a música inteira.
Mm-hmm.
What about Pat Metheny?
Yeah, I mean, he, a very personal voice, and created a way of playing that so many people have now kind of been influenced by and imitated. Yeah, he's an extraordinary musician, and also a perfectionist. And can I've heard stories about the care that he takes in making his records and how difficult he is to please because he's such a perfectionist.
Ele tem uma voz única, que muitos depois tentaram imitar, ou que muitos depois imitaram. Tem um estilo próprio, e ele é um perfeccionista. Eu já ouvi histórias sobre os músicos tendo dificuldade para tocar com ele, porque ele era muito exigente e detalhista no que ele queria. Ele é um perfeccionista. I have 2 more names only. Weather Report.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, one of my favorite I guess my favorite fusion band, I would say, and especially Heavy Weather. When I heard that record, it really changed the way I thought about music. And why that was, before that recording, I thought of fusion as more the marriage of rock and jazz, and then Weather Report, and also like highly technical, lots of chops, but Weather Report brought beautiful harmony and melody along with those other elements. So it was more like, I don't know, orchestral and less high energy and more orchestral and broader in the dynamics and feeling. And I'm a big fan.
Ele disse que é uma das bandas de jazz fusion que ele mais gosta, foi uma das primeiras que ele gostou, especialmente o álbum Heavy Weather. Ele disse que antes de escutar essa banda, ele enxergava o jazz fusion como um casamento do jazz e do rock. E que quando ele escutou o Weather Report, ele ficou muito interessado pela forma como eles trabalham a melodia, a harmonia, que ele acha uma banda orquestral, uma banda menos agressiva assim e mais orquestral. Okay, the last name, and then would you have time for answering 4 questions from the students after I ask you this last question?
Okay. Yeah, I have to teach my ensemble in 8 minutes, but I'm happy to be here till then. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So the last musician I want to hear your words about, Ivan Lins.
Yeah. Well, I've just met Ivan, and I wrote one song with Ivan actually, and he was such a generous and supportive musician. He's someone who really understands about jazz music and instrumental music, as well as having a great songwriting and pop sensibility. I think a musician's musician. I mean, many times singers are not quite as musically sophisticated as Ivan Lins is. Yeah.
Ele disse que ele conheceu e escreveu uma música junto com o Ivan Lins, que ele é um músico muito generoso e apoiador. É um cara que entende sobre jazz, música instrumental, música popular, que tem uma boa escrita e, ao mesmo tempo, uma sensibilidade pop. Um músico dos músicos. Okay, so let's move to the students' questions.
Okay.
Pessoal que fez o trabalho do Yellowjackets, vocês podem fazer 3 perguntas, cada um.
Eu vou tentar falar com ele. Hi, good night, Mr. Russell.
Hello.
My name is Luis. I'm very happy to talk with you, and I am moved by your lessons. Our master Adolfo showed some lessons from you, and I could see in you something like a spiritual connection with music. You are always smiling, always happy for for chasing those crazy, amazing sounds. And for me, it was like a labyrinth. I was thinking, oh my God, what this guy's gonna get? And you are all happy about it. And I was just moved by this moment. First, I would like to say that I'm very happy. And second, I would like to ask you about a name that you talk about in the video. It's Mick Goodrick, and the way he sees the chords and stuff. And I think I would like to ask you how that got into you to if that helped you in any way, and if there are other sources for the way you make your chords.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Yes, Mick Goodrick wrote several volumes of these books called the Almanac of Guitar Voice Leading, and it has very much influenced me. And it's, in one way, it's very mathematical and very pattern oriented, but in another way, the thing that I've taken away from it is that every voice should be melodic. The bass, the tenor, the alto, the soprano, every part can be a melody. And in Mick Goodrick's exercises, all the voices move and they're moving stepwise. And if you isolated one voice, it would make a beautiful melody by itself. And that's what I try to do with harmony. And when I write, I want every voice to be melodic. Yeah.
Luiz, você vai passar a tradução para a gente depois dessa questão, tá? Por causa de tempo. Ian e Ronaldo podem fazer suas questões.
Hi, Russell. First of all, I want to say thank you for your music. There was 3 changes in my life when I heard music. First was with Metin, then Heavy Weather from forgot the name.
Weather Report, yes.
Weather Report. And then when I first met Yellowjackets last week, and was, wow. Luis has said most of all the things I would have said. And I want to ask, how is your composition process? We've all watched some of your video lessons and the exercises and the way you think, or I guess a little part of the way you think, because it's so extensive and deep, the things, the harmony. Well,
yeah. Well, yeah, I have to say, first of all, I'm untrained, so I never studied music in school, which I wish I had. So it takes me a long time to write, but my general approach is I will try to find ideas just from improvisations, and if I feel like something interesting is kind of emerging, I'll make a voice memo. And so when it comes time to write music for a recording, I'll go back and review these voice memos, and most of them I've forgotten even what it was, but listen again kind of with a fresh ear and try to identify what was sort of unique about the idea. And then comes the hard work of expanding something into a full composition. And when you do that, the more you're drawing on all your knowledge, all the possibilities you know for harmony and rhythm and melody. And so I always encourage musicians to keep expanding the possibilities that you're aware of, your harmonic possibilities, the ways of creating melodies, different rhythms. And then when you have a spark of an idea, you'll have some tools. Like you can almost think, I go to my toolbox and I pick the tool that's going to help me get the job done, you know. And it's a lifelong process. I mean, I'm still looking for ideas all the time and different ways of getting from one place to the next. So it's a great adventure.
Thank you for your answer. Yeah. One thing more, we have to write a song inspired by the Yellowjackets, and the style will get what I guess is impossible, because eu não sei, traduz aí, por favor, Adolfo. Eu sou eu, não consigo ser outra pessoa. Deu
I can't be anyone else.
And
yeah, be your, yes. That's
yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you about that. So, and maybe you could do this too. The left hand from that is taken from a Chopin prelude. And I changed the rhythm and the key and changed up some of the notes, but it's inspired by, I think it's a Chopin prelude in the key of G, maybe originally. So, yeah.
I believe that I can't be someone else. It's a song from Yellowjackets, right?
Yes, and
I know, but what I was talking is I can't write like Yellowjackets because I can't be someone else. But thank you for the answer too. And there's some way we can send you the song so you can hear it.
Absolutely.
Is there some way?
Yes, Adolfo, please feel free to share my email address with any of your students who would like to communicate with me.
Absolutely, I will do that.
And
Yeah, tell
I'm-
him the name of the song.
The name of the song is Yellow Blankets because it's very cold right here.
That's good.
And-
I look forward to hearing that. And
Okay.
Adolfo, I must apologize, but my my next students are waiting for me to join them. So I must go. Maybe we
That's
could do
okay,
it again.
Russell.
Yeah.
Yes, I will have one more intensive like this, and if you want to join us again, I will be very happy to talk to you one more time.
All right. And
And
thank
I
you
have to
all.
tell you that I really would like to have lessons with you when I go back to the United States soon.
I would be happy to arrange that. You stay in touch with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so
All right.
much, Russell.
Thank you all. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Russell.
Goodbye.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
All the best.
All the best to you too. Thank you.
Pessoal,